Welcome to another podcast of Hidden Treasures where we get to know our church members. And I'm delighted to say that we have Eric with us. Welcome, Eric.
Happy to be here.
Well, we're very happy to have you here, Eric.
Okay.
And the idea of these podcasts is to get to know our church members, hidden treasures.
Yeah.
And so, Eric,
I don't know about the hidden treasure, but
well, you are
I'm
hidden
a church
treasure.
member, but
You are our hidden treasure.
am I?
You're not always hidden.
Stay hidden.
Yeah, you're not always hidden because we can hear you.
Yes, I know. The fame of my life, the voice that carries.
No, well, we're always
As
glad.
my secretary used to say where I work, be careful, Eric, keep your voice down, your voice carries, they can hear you. I said, well, it's stage whisper. Sometimes I want them to hear me, sometimes I don't.
Yeah, well, we're glad that we can hear you. And Eric, tell everybody just a bit about yourself.
Well, I am Eric Snape is my name. I was born in 1930 in Chorlton-cum-Hardy, South Manchester.
Yeah.
Where the Lancashire joins the Cheshire Plain, right? And I grew up there, Mancunian. Born in 1930, so I remember the 30s. I remember the war years, which coincided with my adolescence, right? I had a good schooling, a good school in the centre of Manchester. Pretty rotten top there, schools were in those days, and went to Manchester University.
Brilliant.
Where I studied modern languages, French in particular, but also did Spanish as a second language, which stood me in good stead because every job I had since in teaching was because I had Spanish, even though my main field was French.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's it.
We've got something in common, actually, Eric, because I actually did Spanish at school, but not GCSEs. So
I didn't do it. We just picked it up at university because it wasn't much taught in schools in those days.
So a bit about you then. So you've went to university,
yeah.
And did you do a BA?
Yeah, I did a BA in French and with Spanish subsidiary, and I anticipated my academic career, and I'm very glad I did because I was interested in just about everything, and I just took far too many subjects when I was at university. I remember taking up German, I remember taking up economics, I remember taking up Swedish of all things, but in a sense I gave me a very broad education. Yeah. I didn't get quite as good a degree as I ought to have done, but it stood me in good stead. I was able to make up for it after because I did further study.
Brilliant.
I took another degree in French in a French university in French history and language, and then I did a big diploma in archaeology, a subject that I was passionate, very interested in. But not as much later on in life.
That's really good. And so you said you went to a French university.
Well, it was the Institut Français de Londres, the French Institute in London, which is part of the University of Lille and Paris.
Right. And
there I made some very, very good friends indeed. I've been lucky all my life in the friendships I've had. I made some very, very good French friends there. That's a whole lot of French people who live around there in South Kensington. You know. You haven't been down there.
No, I can't say I have.
By South Kensington. The French lycée is there, very, very big school. There's a whole French community living there that send their sons and daughters to the lycée.
Wonderful. And because your French comes really handy because, am I right in thinking that you have a link with the Hornsey and the France?
Oh,
is that right?
No, not Hornsey.
Haringey, sorry.
Haringey has a long-standing twinning with a part of Paris called Livry-Gargan. And we have now celebrated its 50th anniversary.
That's incredible.
And it's the one town twinning in Haringey which has really stood the test of the years. And we still meet every month in Coupos to have a party and to raise funds for when the French come every 2 years, and we go to them every 2 years, so we see them every year. And we put out all the stops for a long weekend. Go on a Friday, come back on a Monday, and we have coach trips and dinners and all sorts of things. And we entertain them, receive them in our own homes, not in hotels.
That seems
so. And I was chairman of that for 17 years, and I am the honorary chairman for life.
That sounds really good. So,
very good.
Your qualifications, then, Eric, have helped you.
Helped me enormously. Yes, because it's opened up a whole world.
So you was a teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah, and subjects?
Was French and Spanish. And, well, I was head of languages at Middlesex University.
Interesting, yeah.
And it was a very, very good period indeed. I retired in 95. But between about 1980 and 1995, we were setting up all these Erasmus programs, linking up with continental universities to do joint programs of study.
Oh, okay.
And we were pioneers. Middlesex University were pioneers in that. We wanted to call ourselves a European university, but all the other universities objected to our using that title. We had to drop it.
Yeah.
But we were, that was when we were a polytechnic before we became a university. And I think we did more in the way of international joint programs of study than any other university or polytechnic in the country. And I was very lucky to be a little part of that.
So Middlesex, and you've travelled all over. I mean, where's the places you've worked?
Well, the big links were with with France and in Germany and in Spain, and I think we also extended to other places after I'd left. But we were linked with Nantes in a joint economics program, and with Reutlingen in Germany in a first of the programs, which was a BA Business Studies, and with Reims, as we call it, us, on another program, and all over the place. And we linked, and we even tried to link up. Very, very keen head of Spanish wanted us to link up with Guatemala, and we went to Guatemala actually to establish this link, which was a very little link, but it gave us a wonderful week in Guatemala, and a very exciting time.
So you're well travelled. You
travelled travel, yes, I'm lucky. I was wanting to travel. You see, being born in Manchester, as you can well imagine,
with the Eccles kids,
the dreary war years, one wanted to get out.
Yeah.
And I think languages was the key. It was the attraction of the exotic.
Yeah.
I always wanted to travel, and my wishes have been fulfilled.
Yeah.
Because I did military service. Everybody had to do. When I finished university at the age of 21, 22, I had to do national service, but I did extra 3 years because I took a commission in the Royal Air Force. I was known as Flying Officer Snape in those days. So I enjoyed, but we were stationed in the Midlands, though I had a few trips to Germany. But I really wanted to be away to somewhere much more exotic.
Yeah. And is that where Jamaica comes in then, Eric?
Yes, Jamaica, when I came out of the RAF, I tried my hand in industry. A roots group, management trainee, so-called. And I realised that was not for me, to cut a very long story short. I didn't stay very long. And they weren't giving us any really training at all. We were just hanging about and waiting for something to happen, which it didn't. So I left Roots Group, which has sort of course gone out of existence, and took a job as a head of Spanish in the secondary school in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica. It's a very, very good school, run along English grammar school and public school lines, half the boarders, half the day boys. And that was the best thing I ever did in my life.
And how many years was you in Jamaica?
Only 3.
Yeah.
But I made so many friends there.
Yeah.
English friends and Jamaican friends. Half the staff at the school were young English blokes like me, and the others were Jamaicans, Trinidadians, Barbadians, and long-established friendships. And after that, most of them have now died because I've lived such a long time. I hope I lived them all.
Yeah.
But now we're in the second generation because, in fact, come August, I'm going down to Christchurch to a 60th wedding anniversary, 60th birthday of one of the kids who was born out there at my time when I was there.
That's wonderful.
So it was carried on to that second generation.
I mean, this is really interesting, Eric, because I didn't realise how well travelled you was. We're going to have to start calling you Christopher Columbus.
Well, no, because that's only part of it. I've travelled to other places.
Yeah.
I was always a great traveller, even at school in the 6th form in Manchester, so keen to get away. I used to hitchhike, right?
Yeah.
And in the universities, I hitchhiked all over Western Europe. Right, in France and Germany, the Low Countries, and I had the best vacation jobs in the world when I was at university, working for the HF and CHA, Holiday Fellowship, leading walks and climbs in France and in the Dolomites in Italy and in Norway, right? And I was actually paid for this kind of method.
That's really good.
That was really great because I'd always been a very, very keen hiker. Of course, living in Manchester, you've got easy access to the Peak District and to the Lake District and to North Wales. So I hiked all those areas and did quite a bit of climbing too.
And you mentioned Manchester because you're famous for making your Eccles cakes.
Yeah, it's a long time. I just like Eccles cakes, and I know my niece, when she got married, her first home was actually in Eccles, but it wasn't because of that. I just like Eccles cakes.
A good Eccles cake. Now, Eric, so well-travelled, education, incredible, a life that, obviously is a long time. I mean, you even said that Yeah, and here we are. So here at Muswell Hill Methodist Church. What led you to Muswell Hill Methodist Church?
My neighbours, upstairs neighbours.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I was an Anglican. I always went to...
So we'll forgive you for that.
Sorry?
We'll forgive you for that.
Well, I never thought much about it. I had a slight brush with Methodism when I was in the RAF. My favourite padre was in fact a Methodist, and one of my brother officers said, "Why don't you come along to the Methodist for a change?" I did, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I went to St. Clement's Church, Tolkien Hardy, and my parents didn't. We went to Sunday school, my brother and I, we did in those days in the 30s. We went to Sunday school, and I carried on with them and joined the Scouts. Most of the churches had a Scouts or Boys Brigade. We had Scouts, and that was one of the best things I ever did.
Yeah, yeah.
Fifth children, I think we were. And we were very, very active. And we got up to all sorts of mischief and nonsense. To the extent that the curate said, "When I get my own parish, I will not have any Scouts." We were so mischievous.
I can't imagine you being mischievous.
Oh, yeah, I was. Well, I was a patrol leader pretty quickly. That was good. And we went camping. And when you think of the things you had to do in those years, I don't think it would be allowed now under health and safety, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
To get my first class badge, we had to go to find the source of the Bolin River, which is a small river, going somewhere in the forest of Poland. And you could take one person with you. You weren't even allowed a tent. You had to build your own bivouac. And this was just for a weekend. And then you had to write it up afterwards.
Okay, yeah.
You had to give a written report so that anybody else could follow your directions and find the source of the River Bolin.
I don't think
it
they
was
do
out
that
on
now.
some horrible peat bog moorland up there, and that sort of thing is good for you.
Yeah.
So, and we did lots of camps as a patrol, and off and up that area, and we were, what, 11, 12, 13 at all. I remember the scoutmaster was, because most of the blokes in the 30s were called up, doing war service. This was wartime, and I remember our scoutmaster was a 16-year-old son of the local grocer. He did a very good job.
Yeah.
Right? And that softens you up to the extent, we've been washed out of tents quite frequently, and even once had to take refuge in a hen coop. It's the sort of thing we did in those days.
Yeah.
So when I went into the RAF, which was in Hennisford, in the middle of winter, a big Hennisford moor, not far from Lichfield, a lot of my recruits suffered terribly, the cold, and they'd been away from home much. A lot of them, they're only 18, and a lot of them found it very, very tough. But for me, I coped with it so easily because we've been toughened up in Boy Scouts.
And it helps with a good stead, doesn't it? I mean, I was in the Boys Brigade, and Alex Ferguson, when he was in the Boys Brigade in Glasgow, he said when he was the Manchester United boss that if it wasn't for the Boys Brigade, he wouldn't be the Manchester United boss. And I thought that's incredible because it put him in good, solid foundation. And the churches, the Methodist Conference this year actually have affirmed the importance of uniformed organisations, and we need to have that, don't we?
Well, my joy, you asked me earlier, go back to your beautiful question, how did I get to Muswell Methodist Church? It wasn't, it was because I had upstairs neighbours. I lived in the ground floor flat and 3 flats in the house in Crouch End, very nice. And my upstairs neighbours was a young lady. She'd done a degree in something, and she was in financial services, but she was studying for the priesthood, I think, or to become a, what do we call, the lay preacher or local preacher. And she married Paul Taylor, who was son of a Methodist minister. Son of a Baptist minister. She, Alison Taylor, some of the congregation will remember her. She was very strong Methodist. Her family were very strong Methodist. And they said, why don't you come to our church? Well, I wasn't going to a local church then. And I said, okay. I came along, and Clutterbuck was, what's his first name? Richard Clutterbuck and Diane, who we saw the other day, were ministers, and I felt very much at home.
And what year was that, Eric?
And anyway, and Paul and Alison got married here. Sadly, they've split up since, and they've got other families now. But they're still good friends.
Wonderful. And so what year did you join Muswell?
Oh my gosh, it's going back a long time now. It would be certainly over 30 years ago. Yeah. Because I remember their son, Samuel, was actually imprisoned here, and he's turned 30.
Yeah.
So I was around at that time, so thinking back then it was 30 years.
So there'll be lots of people that'll be watching this, Eric, who will be they'll be very fascinated about Muswell Hill Methodist Church. Some are new to the church, and just to help the people, what do you like about coming to Muswell Hill Methodist Church?
Very, very friendly and open, and it's a congregation with an enormous life experience. Not everybody has had the benefits of a higher education, but they come from all over the world, which I like, right?
Yeah.
Because, I do not like Little Englandism and all that stuff. It gives me the creeps. I like it when people are from all over the world, an accumulation of life experiences. It's absolutely extraordinary when you talk to people.
Yeah.
Right? And some of them are extremely well educated and had the benefits of higher education. Some haven't, but they've had lots of experience in other ways. And of course, it's a very privileged place because of the location and the grounds.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
And it's above all the people, I think. Very friendly, very welcoming congregation. Always new ideas popping up. We've had some pretty good ministers too.
Oh, and just to say,
I didn't. About the fifth, I think, in that time.
And I haven't paid you to say that. So,
that's very good.
Eric, what would you like to see at Muswell Hill Methodist Church? I always ask this
an
question.
awful lot. This is good.
Yeah.
I don't have any particular thing I could focus on at the moment. I think we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, we are really well. I'm encouraged.
You know, it's getting better and better. So let's just take, rejoice in that.
I mean, what's really encouraging to hear, Eric, you say that as one of our, of our older members, because sometimes the worst people who get stuck in their ways are your 50 and your 60-year-olds, and it's quite nice to hear yourself say that it's great to see things changing, and I find that really encouraging. And those who are watching, I would encourage to embrace it, embrace the change.
It's a great church. It's a great congregation. Nothing I can say. I mean, we've got so much already.
Yeah.
What more do you want?
Exactly.
I mean,
when you've got everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then
it'd be nice to see more young people joining, but that's the trend these days. But they will come.
They will come. Drips and and so obviously, before we finish, 1930, you said you was born. What's the secret to make you look so good?
I look good. I don't think I look good when I look in the mirror.
What's the secret, Eric?
I think the secret is to enjoy life as much as you can, because it's infinitely fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm interested in just about everything.
Yeah. And I picked that up from you.
I read a lot. I watch quite a lot of television, but only in the evening. I don't watch it during the day. And I used to travel a lot, but I can't do that now so easily now, because I had a knee operation which wasn't very successful. So I do get around quite a bit, not as much. I should get down into London a bit more than I do, but I'm interested in very much what's going on in the world. And I've had lots of wonderful friends, but now, given my age, most of them have passed on, and they're scattered. And my immediate family, my niece and nephew and their 3 girls each, are up north, so I don't see them all that often.
And whereabouts is North Hull?
Can you imagine?
I know people live there.
Beverly Hull.
Yeah.
And North Manchester, Middleton, North Manchester, my niece. And my sister-in-law, who is exactly my age, has had a run of ill health, and she's gone to live with her daughter in Manchester. So that's going to be a bit difficult for me to get back up to Beverly as much as I'd like to.
Yeah, as much as you
because they're all very, very busy with commitments up there. So there we are.
Well, Eric, you are our hidden treasure.
Am I really? Well, there we are. Well, that's new for me.
Yeah, and we thank you that you joined us.
Well, there's much more to say, but there we are.
Yeah, and everyone, this is, as I said, this is Eric. Come and speak to him at church. And what we've not been able to get done to record, he'll be able to tell you more, because his life is fascinating.
Well, there's a lot more after that.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Well, thank you, Eric.